When the summer solstice starts and we're sitting on a beach or fishing at the lake or just taking a break, the countdown clocks have started, fight songs pass the time. The days may run together, but you know that in our mind it's always Saturday. Take me back to Saturday. Saturday. Give me those 12 Saturdays. Spot the ball. March Madness is a blast, and we love baseball games. But nothing beats the feeling of having a killer slate of games. It's always Saturday. Take me back to Saturday. Saturday. Dreaming of all Saturdays. Spot the ball. Spot the ball. Oh, college football. Sat out your day.
For the small, lay a big hit and pass a kick the ball. This game is for us all. From Seattle down toward the Keys, this game is you, this game is me. Cats, dogs, and steer, be the tree. This game is America, so sing it loud with me. College football forever. College football forever. Downtown LA, Starkville sit. 1 week you're up next, take a dip. Run the rock or let it rip. This game is America. All say, can you sing it with me?
We just stepped on her face with a hot-tail broken rocker nose. Whoa, Nelly!
College football forever. College football forever. College football forever. College football forever.
College football is a year-round discussion with these two. Here's JC and Morgan. Mike Morgan of ESPN and JC Sherbert of 24/7 Sports have you covered. Beginning right now.
Welcome, everybody. Good morning if you're watching / listening live. Good afternoon or good evening if you're catching us later on in the magic of the podcast world, where you can hear us and watch us anytime you want on every format imaginable, from Spotify to iTunes to Google Play to YouTube to Twitter and everything else. We are JC and Morgan. We are with you proudly for episode number 284. And there's always a little something extra special this time of year. And it's not just an actual touch of brisk in the air. It's the fact that we have games to discuss and games to preview. As Steve Spurrier once described the offseason as talking season, which is what we do probably best. We really have no other skills in life. But now we don't get to just talk about college football. We get to analyze college football. We get to take a look at games that took part. And JC, I didn't waste any time diving into games I ordinarily would not spend a lot of time on. Now, actually, Kansas State, Iowa State's a game I would probably watch anyway because I'm a college football degenerate, and I do respect some Big 12 football. I know what it's like in Manhattan, Kansas, and Ames, Iowa, two underrated fan bases for programs that truly love the sport. But I even found myself driving in the car that night listening to Stanford, Hawaii, and hanging on all hope that Hawaii could hit a field goal and pull off the upset. I've kind of grown tired. I have Stanford fatigue. So go Hawaii. Go fighting Timmy Chang's. I was glad to see a guy that was working at Morton's Steakhouse learn how to kick on YouTube and hit a game-winning field goal. That's the kind of story that only exists in college football. So you had that in week 0, and then you have week 1, a historically good week 1 on the horizon. I'm fired up. You're fired up. Mad Dogs, Phil Mullinax, you can't see him, but believe you me, he's so fired up. He probably already went to the restroom, and we don't know why, but he just did. Welcome, JC. How are you?
Doing well, yeah. Kansei Matsuzawa.
I had that
was a
once
kicker
at
for Hawaii.
Steakhouse.
Yeah,
Guy was serving it up, flipping an egg on a
yeah.
spatula, and then gave me a scoop of that.
Yeah, delicious, right?
Yep, scrumptious.
My experiences at the Japanese steakhouse are usually like depending on sake or no sake.
Yeah.
It's good either way, but there's a different kind of vibe.
It's a different vibe when you start.
Yes, Mad Dog and his wife about that one sometime. But look, that was a great moment. Stanford's in trouble. Stanford is in trouble. I was on with Chuck Oliver yesterday. We got on the topic of, for those that don't know, Chuck Oliver, voice of college football out of Atlanta.
Awesome. We'll get him back on here.
Yeah, he's fantastic and honored to be on. And we were talking about pro coaches that become play callers in college. And, he brought up the point. I've always kind of agreed with this. I think the game's changing in a way that sometimes the pro coaches are starting to get like Pat Shurmur, surprisingly to me, did a really good job for Coach Prime last year at Colorado with a limited offensive line. But Frank Reich, coached that game like he was coaching on Sunday, and they were playing the Falcons 20-17, was running up. Oh God, well, we didn't get it, and in college, that kind of stuff will get you beat. And Chuck was talking about it. He said, pro guys are like, oh, I hope we can score 27 points today. College guys are attack, score as much as you can because it's such a crazy game. You never know. I think the pro play callers are set up for that game. Talent's pretty much even, you're just kind of hoping to get up and down. In college, you can screw it up if you try to play it like that. And they did. And Frank Reich, to his credit, he's an interim coach. That's what his label is. Obviously, he knows Andrew Luck pretty well in that situation. But, Hawaii, they just got their – Aloha Stadium's been condemned. You know this, don't you? Where they used to play, it's been condemned. Yeah. It's just sitting there like the old RFK in D.C.
Oh, they didn't turn it into anything?
Nah, the government down there, approval process, a lot of red tape, finally got it approved. It's going to seat about 23,000 with chance to do it. But they have been playing at a Northwestern style, like Northwestern's temporary stadium.
Yeah.
It's on the lake because they brought some bleachers in. It's going to be crazy seeing UCLA play right there on basically a practice field. Hawaii's been that way for a while. It's a temporary facility. And that's not Hawaii, the Hawaii football I remember. I remember Aloha Stadium. It looks Hawaiian. It looks Polynesian.
Mm-hmm.
Pro Bowl there every year. The Aloha Bowl, shut my mouth. Our SEC fans will remember trivia question. Where's the last game Jim Donnan coached at Georgia? It was in that stadium against Virginia.
Wow.
Right afterward.
Good pull.
So Hawaii has a lot of challenges, is what I'm saying. Stanford in the 2010s was like the 8th winningest program in the country, 97-35. And now, look at them. And plus the add insult to injury, they're in the ACC and have traveled more miles than anybody. So I don't know what's going on there. That was a tough loss for them, but certainly a great story with the kicker. And that's probably as much as we'll talk about the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors all year, but they got great fans and great players. Players down there love the game, and so hats off to them.
You mentioned their coach, obviously a big name in Frank Reich. How about Andrew Luck as kind of their GM is basically what they brought him in for. So they brought all these big names in to give some good vibes and a case of the warm and fuzzies. but it's not working. I mean, that program is so sunk. It's so broken. And I'll go back to one of my biggest misses. I like starting off with a little bit of negativity on my part. I thought David Shaw, the former coach of Stanford, was well on his way to being like a big thing. I was impressed with him whenever I saw him, at a podium. I just felt like he was on the fast track. And the fact of the matter is, once he lost Andrew Luck and Christian McCaffrey, that fast track became a fast track to getting fired, and then a fast track to is he an assistant somewhere in the NFL now? I see him on TV every now and then.
Yeah, I don't even know that he's coaching in the NFL. I think he's just out of coaching.
Is he just done? Good
He's come
Lord.
up on some lists of potential coaches.
Yeah, but I mean, it just seemed like he was there. He was the right guy for that job, and they had so much momentum with Luck and McCaffrey, and they would always have like a tight end that was really good, and occasionally they'd have a decent defense. Never great. But you knew when you put the TV on Stanford, they were going to pile up some yards and points. And I've been to Palo Alto. It's been a while, but I was there for a week. It is a beautiful campus. Beautiful, beautiful. That's one part of California that they have not destroyed yet. It's not like San Francisco. They don't have homeless encampments all over the place and human excrement on the streets and smash and grabs every 100 yards. Palo Alto is still pretty pristine. So it's still a pretty desirable place. I don't know why they can't be good in college football. And now they're in the ACC, hardly a gauntlet, right? Like they should be at least middle of the pack in that league. But they were not very good last year. They just were not. So to lose that first game to Hawaii is just another huge splash of cold water on your face if you're a Cardinal fan. Like, yeah, we're still got a long way to go. Excuse me. We can bring in famous alums and do all this stuff, and it looks on the surface like we're really repairing stuff, but at the end of the day, you're not. You haven't repaired anything. So the bigger game, of course, took place in Dublin, and I know the first half was ugly. It was wet. Throwing a wet ball. If you watch that Cowboys documentary, Troy Aikman's one of the most accurate passers I've ever seen. Just phenomenal. They didn't throw the ball a ton in Dallas. They were Emmitt Smith oriented. But when you needed a throw and you wanted to hit Michael Irvin, he didn't throw it in his area. He threw it between the 8 and the 8. That was Troy Aikman. Just a cannon of an arm, but accurate as hell. He used to say, and North Turner in the documentary said, yeah, Troy couldn't throw a wet football. Couldn't do it. It's a Hall of Fame NFL quarterback. Could not throw a wet football to save his life. And so I'm not saying either one of these quarterbacks in that game was anything near Troy Aikman, but with a wet turf and a wet ball, there was virtually no passing game in the first half. So it was ugly. People on social media are like, oh, these teams suck. That's not necessarily true. It's terrible. You're playing in a quagmire, right? In the second half, I don't know if they put some extra dry something, got the rosin bag out and put it on the ball. But all of a sudden, the offenses were humming a bit, and it became an immensely entertaining game. And kudos to Matt Campbell and Iowa State for winning it.
Rocco Brecht.
Yeah, he was good.
Really good. They fumbled early. I mean, they were fumbling and stumbling all over the field. To quote Steve Spurrier yet again, we were fumbling and stumbling all over the place. But, and look, you're in a facility that's not really designed for American football. They probably don't really think about, if it rains, we need to have the ball dryers out there. The ball dryers. And then they probably laugh and drink a Guinness. It's funny. But they did. I mean, the lines were coming off the field.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean,
chalk. Is chalk hard to come by in Dublin?
Yeah. I mean, look, it's the British Isles. There's going to be rainy periods. I mean, thank God it's not in Scotland, because that would have been even worse. But they settled in and played a good game. I felt horrible for Kansas State people. On another show, somebody in our chat box had a friend that was in Ireland on Monday of last week. So it was a sea of purple. K-State traveled outside of Notre Dame. just as well as anybody has traveled to Dublin for that game. Iowa State had a good contingent as well. But, man, you go over there, your running back Edwards gets hurt the first play. Avery Johnson had a decent game throwing it, but they didn't really get him out of the pocket a whole lot. You lose, you're down 0-1 in the Big 12. That's a big game. You lose Farmageddon to your rival.
Right.
And then Avery Johnson, not Anthony Johnson, Avery Johnson, his dad and his brother getting an Irish-style bare knuckler in the parking lot. Dude.
Unbelievable.
Like, win in Dublin, do as the Irish. I'm going to challenge my manhood. I'm going to get you. I don't care if you are my son. Unfortunate. And I know that family's probably embarrassed and all. And Avery Johnson's a hell of a player, but everything that could go wrong did go wrong for the Wildcats. It's probably Tom Luganville's fault, just to be honest, because he picked them to win the Big 12
That's right.
on last week's episode. So we'll blame Tommy for that one. But still a 3-point game, and they had their chances. I mean, look, I talked about the coaches going into that game all week. Matt Campbell out-coached the other team. And these are the things that, sometimes it's if it works out or not. But it was a gutsy call that required a lot of faith in your quarterback and your offense and all that to go for it late in that game. Because of the way that game was going, somebody could slip and fall, and boom, Avery Johnson's off to the races or throwing a long touchdown. K-State's receivers are fast. But they went for it and said, we're going to win this one right now. And they did. And that's all she wrote. So hats off to the Cyclones, model of consistency, and they're one up in the Big 12.
One up in the Big 12. And I thought it was interesting. We always joke on this show. There are a number of people in our profession that are really good at breaking down NFL and NBA, and then they try their hat at talking intelligently about college football, because if you're going to be a credible national person, you kind of got to know something or two about college football. But you can always tell when they didn't grow up with the sport, they don't really follow it, they don't really like it. They just kind of give a treetop view, and they captain obvious statements. But at the end of that game, a weird thing happened. And I can't remember the name of the player on the final key play to get the first down. The guy for the Cyclones looks like he's in the end zone, which will put you up two scores with minimum time left. They go to review, and apparently when his elbow hits the ground, that's wherever the ball is at that point, that's where you spot it. So it's like inches away from the goal line. So what that means is it looks like it's a bad break for Iowa State. Well, it might be for some gamblers out there, but actually it was a good thing for Iowa State, because they essentially, all they had to do was take a knee 3 times, and nothing, absolutely nothing Kansas State can do about it. I won't mention his name. Guy on TV who's talking about the game goes, and some good sportsmanship here, as they, rather than pile up the score, they decided to take a knee. Like, no, moron. It's not about sportsmanship. If he scores, they got a chance Kansas State has a chance to score, kick an onside kick, and win the game. We've seen crazier things happen in college football.
In that environment, all hell.
Yeah, of course.
Again, that's good coaching.
Right. It's good coaching. Smart, because it's a 40-second play clock.
Some coaches will throw it in. They'll go ahead and score. I mean,
absolutely.
That's not. But good.
But the smart play is the 99.9% chance of winning the game play is to take the knee. It's something to always remember when you're trying, because I struggle with this at times of, like, I'm starting to do the math in my head. Like, okay, 40 times 3 is 100. But they would still remember now when the play ends. And we'll go over some rules at some point, because I thought a key rule call that's going to affect college football this year happened in that game too. But when the play ends, there's a 40-second clock, right? 40-second play clock, just like in the NFL. Mm-hmm. They don't start that instantaneously. There's a little bit of a buffer, right, between one play and the next play where it goes to 40. So it's never exactly 40 seconds, 40 seconds, 40 seconds. Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Because I I think people find that confusing, and it's hard to start doing the math in your head. Like, okay, can they just run the clock out here? Can they just do that? Or is there still going to be time left if you go for it on fourth down, you don't get it? Do they get the ball back with like 7 seconds? So just something key. But I'll just say real quickly, the other big thing, and this is going to be, as announcers, we're drilled on this, make sure everybody knows the new rules. If after the ball is spotted, and you saw this in this game, defensive player goes down with an injury. Now, it actually looked like a legitimate injury, but it doesn't matter because we know the Lane Kiffins of the world and whatnot would use this and abuse this where they would fake the injury. If you do that, you lose a timeout. If you have no timeouts, it's a 5-yard penalty. So it's going to get murky. I have a weird feeling it's going to get ugly in a particular key spot of a game this year, but that is the situation. That is it's the biggest rule affecting college football in 2025. There are some others, but that's the big one because that's been a problem, and college football has had no idea what to do about it. They've had no idea how to officiate it, how to regulate it. It's always a sensitive subject because, God forbid, you penalize a team for a kid that you think is faking an injury, and then it turns out he just tore his ACL, right? It's a bad look. So they don't know what to do. This is the best compromise they came up with.
Yeah, refs are not psychologists or criminologists or people that are skilled at detecting. They're not directors. They don't know acting. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So that's, but yeah, and I bet it'll happen in the SEC too, because that's going to happen.
Oh, heck yeah.
It'll happen in one of these Ole Miss or somebody. I mean, it'll happen. Yeah. Yes. Speaking of poetic justice, it'll happen to Ole Miss.
Right? Yeah. That would be something.
I mean, I don't
that
wish
would be
that
something.
on them, but yeah, that's interesting, Mike. I think I agree with you. It will affect some outcomes.
It's going to be something to look for sure. We're looking for the JC5 after our timeout. You know it, you love it. The morale of a great nation relies heavily upon it, as it does on some good products for you and your health and your ability to take on the day. We are powered by Advocare, advocare.com. So many great products, whether it's Spark to get your day going, no sugar. Some of you are not coffee drinkers. I'm not a coffee drinker. That's where Spark comes in. The hydration products, the Rehydrate, that is like Gatorade, but without all that sugar. You drink a ton of sugar, which is not good when you drink so many of your energy drinks, your power drinks. They don't have that. It's 130% daily vitamin C without the salty taste, rapid hydration. Products that can help you sleep, products that can help you have energy when you work out, daily vitamins, collagen. JC, I know you're always worried about those sexy lips of yours. They can go ahead and take care of collagen as well. Go ahead and check them out, advocare.com. Promo code Mike Morgan, you save yourself 20%. That's advocare.com. We've got the JC5 coming up on the other side, another installment of JC and Morgan.
Welcome to Palm Casual Patio Furniture. Because we are the factory, Palm Casual has the ability to offer the highest quality outdoor furniture paired with world-class service. Since 1979, our factory showrooms have done our best to make the buying process as easy as possible for our customers. Our understanding of the many factors that go into your decision has helped us create our 30-day trial period that increases the level of comfort our customers feel during the shopping experience. Visit us in Somerville, Mount Pleasant, Myrtle Beach, and Bluffton, and online at palmcasual.com for our products and out-of-state locations. Go Gamecocks!
Hey folks, want to tell you about our friends at Titan Construction Group really quick. They're a mid-Atlantic based general contractor, specializes in retail, restaurant, and office construction. TCG strives to separate itself from other general contractors by adding value every step of the process. From project budgeting to estimation, value engineering to construction, they focus on those relationships and not the transaction. Titan builds partnerships one project at a time. Among their clients are Starbucks, Crumble Cookie, Blake Pizza, Home Goods, 15 plus years experience, based in Midlothian, Virginia, and contracted in Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. So get on their website, Titan TitanCGinc.com. That's TitanCGinc.com. Get in touch with Brad if you're in need of a general contractor that focuses on going above and beyond for their clients. That's Titan Construction Group, a proud sponsor of the JC and Morgan podcast.
We're passionate about making sure that the Nest and Wild mattress is the best it can be. Made well and made right. Right here in Tupelo, Mississippi. So how can we do all that? Work. Hard work. And that means something. The Nest and Wild mattress is a movement. It's a pride in where you come from and where you're going. So get comfortable, because this movement is just beginning.
This is JC Morgan
On the Chief Sports Network.
College football. Forever.
All right, back with you on JC and Morgan. It is time once again, the award-winning, the highly anticipated, and the first in-season JC5.
It's time for the top topics in the sport. We bring the JC5. Number 1.
All right, Mike, news out of the SEC. I understand why they had to get this in because you got to get a schedule together for next year, but they are going to 9 games. It seems to me like there was a model for this before they went to 8 for 2 years when Texas and OU came in. But what I've been reading and hearing is they're probably, instead of saying we're going to try to crunch all this data and make it as fair as possible, they're just going to kind of keep all the secondary rivalries, and there are many of them in the SEC, and then go from there. I think that's a very SEC thing to do. I think the money is great for the schools. I'm warming to it, even though 9 is a weird number. But what say you about this? And you called it. You've been calling it for years. You're like, this
Huge.
is inevitable. It's a Marvel movie I just quoted, so you probably won't.
Nah, some guy wearing a cape, right?
Nah, it's a villain who's like, I am inevitable. I think that's the line.
Did he have superpowers?
Yeah, he's was it? I don't even remember. Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
All right.
My stepson watched it, and I caught that. He had it on the TV, and he's like, I am inevitable. And
2 words for your stepson.
Yeah.
Goodfellas. Okay. He's old enough now. He can appreciate good cinema, thought-provoking, great plot, little reality. Nobody's throwing a web at somebody or flying around with superpowers. We're ready for the next stage.
Thanos, big slam and jamma in the chat box. It's Thanos, you know.
Okay.
Speaking of Scottish, prancing around in your wee tights and your uniform.
It's not Scottish, it's crap.
Why don't you put on a kilt like a real man? Anyway.
You do that remarkably well. All right. So, yeah, you folks didn't think we were going to not touch on the 9-game conference slate. Here we go. Yeah, I have been calling it for a few years. I'm sorry, I'm a little choppy today. And yes, I've had enough good intel to know what has been the hang up, and the hang up has changed a little bit. So the first hang up initially, before all this talk about playoff expansion and everything else, was simply
okay. They're building a deck outside of my house.
Oh, okay.
I forgot they were here. Now this is going to be an interesting.
All right. Yeah,
all right. So I forgot to hit mute. So please continue. I apologize for the.
I thought it was a guitar. That was like Jimi Hendrix doing the national anthem. I was like, oh,
it also
JC's
sounded
really
like
feeling
an
it.
elephant breaking wind.
Well, that too.
All right. I'm sorry.
That'll be on the next
Let me mute my
installment.
mic. Thanks.
Number 5, elephant breaks wind. So the initial hang up on this was simply a money deal, right? SEC's giving you a premier property. They're giving you a ninth conference game. You, as the TV partner, have to pay for that. You have to pay extra. And then that was a matter of negotiating. And so that was the first obstacle. But then this little thing happened where 3 9-3 SEC teams watched the likes of Indiana and SMU get at-large bids to a 12-team playoff while Alabama, Ole Miss, and South Carolina sat home watching. And that, as I mentioned, the moment it happened, was going to set off the fire alarm at SEC headquarters in Birmingham. It did. That's when all the talk about, okay, now we want 4 automatic bids to every playoff so we can avoid let's take the committee out of this stupid equation and let's make sure this doesn't happen again. And obviously with the number 4, it would never happen again. And the 4 would also benefit the Big Ten, which typically isn't as deep a conference. Then something else happened. People started looking at the math and saying, well, wait a minute. A 4-4-2-2-1 formula limits the amount of bids the SEC can get. Whereas if we went to 5-11, well, no limit. So that was the next machination of all this. And then another thing happened. The Big Ten said, I don't like your 5-11 model because we're not willing to gamble on ourselves. We don't think that we necessarily will have 4 teams good enough every year without the automatics. So we're not in favor of that. And SEC, you're yellow. You're chicken. You won't play 9 conference games. We, the mighty Big Ten, we play 9 conference games. So that became the second holdup. Oh, by the way, on the sideline, secretly, they'll never admit it. There's some coaches going, I don't want 9 conference games. That's going to get my ass fired. I'm going to tell my AD, don't go for it. He's going to tell his president. And you know what? The president and the AD are going to say, this just in, our fans don't want to pay their hard-earned money for another matchup with Western Kentucky or Chattanooga or anybody else. So we're playing 9. And the coach says, okay, you write my multi-million-dollar check. I'll go with that. All that has been going on. And finally, the deal gets done. And let me tell you who the winner is. You, the fans. 9 conference games. You, the fans, are the winner. It's an extra game to be excited about. Does that mean you're going to lose a couple more games over the course of time? Of course it does. But guess what? This playoff's about to go to 16. By the December 1st deadline, I'm here to tell you it will expand to 16. There's no reason not to now. Everybody's playing 9 conference games. The ACC will get there eventually. And that means if you do go 9-3 and you got a really good strength of schedule, which was another thing that Sankey insisted upon, you will do a better job of evaluating that committee. Now all of a sudden 9-3 will get you in. So all that led up to this, JC. It's a long wind-up to deliver the pitch, and here's the pitch. 9 conference games is simply better than 8. Take that,
Number 2.
building crew.
Number 2. Okay, so what's the ACC going to do? That to lead on top of that, they have 17 teams in that monstrosity of a It's like a bad Frankenstein from the 40s costume, sewn together. It's body parts sewn together. Will they add West Virginia? Will they try to add a team? Or will they do this stupid thing where they count Notre Dame in the conference standings? Now, there's precedent for this. The SEC, once upon a time, only played 6 conference games and would count like, oh, Georgia's played North Carolina State. That counts this year, which is beyond my comprehension. So there's precedent for it. But, dude, I don't know how they're going to get this done, but they have to go to 9. It's a weaker conference as it is. And if everybody else is at 9, they have to go.
No doubt. The 17 is an issue. I don't know if they can poach West Virginia from the Big 12. That's a pretty big ask, but they're going to get to 9 some way, somehow. They've just got to do it. They're not going to be the only conference with 8. A conference that already is not exactly riding high. It's a conference that needs other people besides Clemson and to an extent Miami. It's all about the U-Dog to be good. They need Florida State to get back. They need programs like Virginia Tech, North Carolina to be at least respectable again. They need that as a conference. So yeah, they're going to go to 9. There's no two ways about it. If they start adding teams, JC, I haven't really looked at the ACC rumor mill. There's others out there. I mean, they might have to go a step down, something that's beneath them in the addition. Yes, excuse me, but I do not think favorably of East Carolina. I don't know who it's going to be, but yeah, they've got to do something, some way to get to 9.
I'll laugh if it's Memphis because they preach academics. Louisville and Memphis are the last two in the door.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a big. I think you get a great education anywhere. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I know smart people that went to the University of Memphis, but let's just say the academic acceptance at Chapel Hill is a lot different than it is at Memphis and Louisville. Yes. I think West Virginia would probably jump because they're an outpost essentially, except when they go to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
You got the backyard brawl. You got a rivalry that's pretty, once upon a time was bitter against Virginia Tech. You play in your old Big East schools. You're playing Miami again. You do have to go to the West Coast and SMU, but
you muted yourself.
I'm sorry.
There we go.
And then I would look for UNLV to join the Big 12. That is the talk in Vegas.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, you add them in with the corner schools. It's a big market. It's fun. Their basketball program could use the boost. Because when they turned down the Pac-12, that was kind of the talk. So that's something I'd like to see happen because it would. For years, I've been mad at the ACC for not considering West Virginia because of academics. But who knows if it will. To me, that's the solution instead of some cattywampus Notre Dame thing.
Yes.
Number 3.
The story of Steve Angeli continues in Atlanta this weekend. Syracuse is a popular, going to play them close type of deal. I looked at their depth chart today. They're going to start 4 transfer portal guys on the offensive line. Remember, Steve Angeli came in last year for Riley Leonard in the playoff and went 6 for 7. Could he be another Kyle McCord? And how do you see that early game? It's getting overshadowed a bit because we got Texas, Ohio State at noon Saturday. But that early game there in your neck of the woods with the orange and the orange.
Yeah, I mean, the focus from the national media and quite frankly from people like you and me who are much more inclined to follow and keep up with a Tennessee than Syracuse has been, what is Tennessee going to look like without Nico, without Sampson, without some key players on that defense like Pierce? Like, is this the year that Tennessee takes a true step backwards, or even a bigger step backwards might be a better way of putting it? I shouldn't say that. I mean, they made the field, right? It's an expanded field, but they weren't as good as peak Tennessee under Heupel was Hendon Hooker, was just dominating defenses in the SEC, and it looked like for a while there that nobody had the answer on how to stop his offenses. Last year, yes, they ran for a ton of yards, but I think as I thought would happen sooner, I think some defensive coordinators are starting to catch up a little bit to that. And for all the knock on Nico, and I think every coach, we talked about this with Luganville, every coach is secretly pulling for Tennessee this year. If you're not, if you're not in the SEC, if you have no skin in the game, because at the end of the day, coaches do not want to see a player pull another Nico to actually have an NFL style holdout at camp. When you've already agreed to financial terms, you see this now. I mean, you got Micah Parsons doing it with the Cowboys. That's one thing if a pro does it. We don't want to see that in college football. So people are hoping that Tennessee does not get, coaches especially, are hoping that Tennessee does not get completely debilitated by losing Nico. And that'll be the narrative if Joey Aguilar lays a pterodactyl-sized egg as the starting quarterback. And I have no idea what to expect from Aguilar. I really don't. I know what he did at App State and UCLA, but I don't know. I don't know what this Tennessee team is going to look like. So that's my fascination with this game, JC. But you asked about Syracuse. Syracuse was a great story last year. And McCord was the key, and he's gone. But it wasn't just McCord. I mean, they had playmakers on that offense that against many ACC defenses, they didn't have a response to it, including Miami in a do or die playoff game, and Miami couldn't stop them. So it is intriguing. I would certainly favor Tennessee. I just think top to bottom, they still have more talent. But if Syracuse wants to truly make a statement that they are relevant again, that it's not just a blip on the radar and a nice story last year, they need to play well in a game like this.
Number 4.
Okay. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Breaking news. Iowa, the Hawkeyes, coached by Kirk Offense Ferentz, may have a good offense this year. Does that make Iowa a sleeper for the playoff?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, because everybody is so almost like put off, like it's like you insulted their family how bad their offense is. Like when you put on an Iowa football game and they struggle to get to 10 points, and the stats were mind-boggling. I mean, I remember at one point people were throwing out numbers like Iowa has, I don't know, more punting yards than passing yards. It was all these like stuff that sounds made up. No, it's real. Iowa's that bad offensively. If they ever, so that's overshadowed the fact that they're always good everywhere else. They're always good on defense. They're always good on special teams. They're extremely well coached by Kirk Ferentz, who is a potential Hall of Fame football coach. So, yeah, if they show a pulse on offense and clearly they are trying to make the right moves, personnel, scheme-wise to do so, yeah, Iowa could be that kind of team. I have faith in Hawkeye Nation. I have faith in Iowa City. I have faith in corn. I like corn, particularly off the grill. So, yes, I would say the answer to your question is yes.
Mark Gronowski, fantastic quarterback they got out of the portal from one of the Dakotas. Shoot, I forgot where he came from. South Dakota State Jackrabbits won a national championship there. And they open against Albany, which should be a pretty good win. And then they have a pretty decent, their schedule's not too crazy. Indiana, I think, goes out there, and that's one of the many teams Indiana avoided last year. I mean, going to Iowa City is tough. I mean, ask Urban Meyer about what happened to him one year out there. But yeah, their defense is going to be stout. So if they got a playmate, and this kid, Mike, can run, he can throw, he's a dual threat guy. I mean, I know he's coming from FCS, but he's a ball player. I mean, he's got the Big Ten quarterback name.
He does have a Big Ten quarterback name. Yeah.
Shut my mouth.
Yeah.
Gronowski.
That just screams tailgate, put a kielbasa on the grill and be ready to go. That's probably the pregame meal.
Kegs and eggs early in the morning. Yeah. I think that's as excited as I've been about Iowa offense in my life. So there we go.
All right. I'm down.
Number 5.
Notre Dame goes to Miami. Notre Dame had a bigger battle at quarterback than they thought they would. The hotshot 5 stars, CJ Carr, or Blue Chipper, is the starter, making his first start at Miami at Hard Rock. We had a conversation about this, about Hard Rock Stadium, and when the Canes will get up for this game. How do you see the Sunday night primetime game going down there in South Florida?
I think it's so juicy. I can't say enough about this week 1. The quality of games the whole way through. I'm going to be in Waco, call Auburn Baylor. I love that matchup. Saturday, incredible. Ohio State, Texas. Everybody is going to be watching that game, and everybody's going to be watching Clemson, LSU. And then to throw this out on a Sunday at Hard Rock, frequent listener to the program. We call him Moscow Mike because he literally lives in Moscow. He watches and listens from Russia. But he went to Notre Dame. He's actually from the United States, but has found a nice career over there. He says it's safe. I believe him. He's still alive. That crowd, here's what I know about Notre Dame fans, Miami fans and the geography of Hard Rock, which is like a 45-minute drive from the Miami campus, you will have a lot of Notre Dame fans in that building. That will not feel like, 1987 Orange Bowl with Jimmy Johnson walking out and Testaverde to Michael Irvin. Those days are done. Hard Rock, while it is a beautiful venue, it does not feel like a terrific home field advantage for Miami. It just doesn't. And so that almost will have a neutral field type feel. I'm telling you right now. There are Notre Dame fans all over South Florida, and the ones that do not live in South Florida will pay their hard-earned money to get there and take this game in and have flashbacks of Catholics versus convicts and 1988 Lou Holtz bringing in the likes of Tony Rice and Michael Stonebreaker, and I mean all the classic names of yesteryear for Notre Dame. I think there are a number of intriguing things about, and I can't say you mentioned Carr. I don't know what to expect out of him, JC. I just don't. But if Notre Dame can get to like 24 points, I don't know how much faith I have in Carson Beck. What Carson Beck are we going to see? 2023 version, 2024 version? I'll tell you this. I was talking to Hudson Mason, former Georgia quarterback. And he was talking about Georgia. And he says if Georgia does what they did last year, which is one of the worst running teams in the SEC, led the nation in drop passes, and the defense was not as dominating as usual, Georgia will go 8-4 if all those things happen again for Gunnar Stockton. The point being that it wasn't all Carson Beck's fault last year. It wasn't. And Carson Beck in 2023 was as good as any quarterback in the Southeastern Conference. So if you get that Carson Beck, I'm taking Miami. If you get closer to last year's Carson Beck that had soul-crushing interceptions and really bad decision-making, I'm taking Notre Dame. That's a bit of a cop-out, I know, but that's where I am today, August the 26th on this game.
My wife is probably going to kill me, but I actually think, and I'm not high on Carson Beck or Miami. I actually think Miami wins. I just think Miami's defense has a lot of athletes, as bad as they were at times last year. They got a good front. Notre Dame's got a good offensive line, but that kid did not run away with that job. And the last 2 years, Notre Dame's had the luxury of pillaging Tobacco Road, the minor Tobacco Road schools in football, and getting Sam Hartman, who was a dang good quarterback, and then Riley Leonard, who played even better for them, I believe, than he did for Duke. Big difference going to battle with that dude, Riley Leonard, like they did at A&M to open the season last year. That was impressive. And going with C.J. Carr making his first start, like I said, he didn't run away with the job, according to reports. I mean, there's some concern out there, but obviously, if he goes down there and has a good game, those concerns were not well founded. But I'm leaning toward the U, dog.
Well, you bring up a great point. I don't think enough can be said about Riley Leonard's impact on Notre Dame football last year. That kid was like a coach on the field. He was a dangerous quarterback. No quarterback in that offense is going to light it up. That's just not the way they do things there. But he was big time for them in big moments. And that's what you need to be as a Notre Dame quarterback, because the line of scrimmage is hardly ever not going to be in your favor. They're always going to play salty defense. And they've got one of the best running backs in the country, a potential Heisman candidate in Jeremiah Love. So you don't have to do a ton. But there's going to be big moments in a game like this for Notre Dame. And is this kid up to the task the way Hartman and Leonard were? That, to me, is what the game boils down to.
And here's something else, though, on the pro C.J. Carr end of things. His grandfather is Lloyd Carr.
Oh, that's right. No, yeah, for Michigan coach. Yeah, I did hear that.
Maybe being the grandson of a really freaking good coach in Michigan. I don't know how he ended up in Notre Dame, right? That's weird.
Yeah.
He's from Michigan. But and he's a red shirt freshman, not a true freshman. You're not throwing to the wolves. I just looking at and sometimes coaches will manufacture a quarterback battle. It's going to be Carr, but we're going to pretend like, Johnny Bravo or whatever's in the hunt right until the end to keep them working. Maybe it's that, but I just in that kind of road environment on that kind of stage, it's not going to be Riley Leonard,
right?
And maybe the legend of CJ Carr begins.
Maybe.
Who knows? I mean, look, Lloyd Carr's grandson. I mean, you're going to have a little bit more of a foundation there to know as far as knowing what to expect. But hey, well, no, it's something to think about if you're a Notre Dame fan. I'm glad my wife went to work already. She doesn't like for me to talk about Notre Dame at all, good or bad.
She's going to find out.
I talk good about them, I'm jinxing them. If I talk bad about them, I'm a jerk.
Yes. Welcome to marriage, my friend.
I said I'm on a
there
college
is no right answer
podcast. I can't talk about Notre freaking Dame. Anyway.
Such is the case. That's going to be the climax to an incredible week 1 in college football. Are there any other games like under the radar that people are not talking about?
Jordan, I mean, Bill Belichick and North Carolina, the ACC Monday Night Football game. Remember that when that was actually a good game?
Mm-hmm.
And we've gotten Duke and Clemson, which actually Duke won. We've gotten, what did we have last year? Florida State and Boston College, which was another upset. Maybe beware if you're the favorite in that game because it's been a surprise. But I think a few years back we had Notre Dame, Florida State. That was a good one on Monday night. But TCU goes in there. As we get closer to kickoff, I think a lot of people are focused on Bill Belichick and that storyline and all that. Tar Heels lost some players in the portal, had to replace them. I mean, we're going to find out if they can evaluate or not. TCU still was pretty solid at 8-4 last year. They're not the team that played for it all, but that's a good football program that knows how to win. I don't know. I kind of see a scenario where TCU goes in there and beats them, but I'm definitely looking for that. Somebody in the chat row mentioned NC State and East Carolina. Luganville, if he jinxed Kansas State, he's probably jinxed NC State as well because he called them the surprise team of the ACC. But they got CJ Bailey at quarterback. That's a secondary rival for State. That game for ECU, gigantic. They feel disrespected by Chapel Hill. Doesn't often play them. NC State does. They used to play each other every year. East Carolina beat them in the Military Bowl last year, and there was a brawl, so they have to turn around and open Thursday night against them in Raleigh. I am definitely with Micah in chat row that says I'm tuning in for that anytime. I'm tuning that in anytime. That's a war. It's chippy. It's been around for a while. Raleigh is the first city you come to in the triad, coming from Eastern North Carolina. It's the capital. I mean, dude, it's got a lot of drama there. That's going to be fun to watch. And we'll see. We'll see what Bailey and the Wolf Packers can do as they try to avenge the Military Bowl loss.
I think the game that I'm also intrigued in, and the reason why it's not getting as much exposure, because ordinarily these two brands, this would be dominating the conversation. But coming off a 2-10 performance where, quite frankly, I think a lot of players simply laid down. Nobody has faith that Florida State can beat Alabama. Alabama's a 13.5-point favorite in that game in Tallahassee. That'll be at 3:30 on Saturday. I'm fascinated by this game for two reasons. Number one, Mike Norvell 2 years ago wins 13 games and is the toast of the town in a lot of ways. And if they don't have Jordan Travis go down with injury, who knows? Who knows what happens? A year ago, clearly they missed every possible way they could in the portal, starting with quarterback. That set a tone. And what do I always say about the teams with the most swagger, JC? Oh, man, they got swagger. The teams with the most swagger, it's like fighting Mike Tyson. If you can last those first couple rounds, you get a few shots in. Now he's got to box and not just be a mauler, a brawler. He's going down. And when you have all that swagger, as many of the Florida teams do, when they have to face adversity early on, you punch them in the mouth a couple of times, they fold. They wilt like a cheap tent, and that's what Florida State did. They're not going to do that again this year. I do think they are going to bounce back. I think the semis are going to be vastly improved. Say what you want about Castellanos. He's a hell of an upgrade from DJ. And I just don't think they're going to have the same misses in the portal. They have recruited well. It's not like they're just, recruiting 2-stars over there in Tallahassee. So that's one part of my fascination. And the other part is Alabama this is a Netflix documentary this year to me. This is a year 2 Kalen DeBoer. 9 wins get you promoted at a lot of schools. 9 wins at Alabama with losses to Vanderbilt and Oklahoma puts you on the hot seat for year 2. Now, when I say hot seat, do I actually think that Alabama would fire Kalen DeBoer after 2 years? Let's say they went 9-4 again and missed the playoff again. No, but I know that fan base and I know the power brokers there fairly well. They will insist something is done because they do not accept not making an expanded 12-team playoff. And as I've stated before, it's not just that they lost, it's how they lost. The Oklahoma game was inexcusable. The pre-snap penalties, not something you would see under Saban. The lack of organization sometimes, not what you would see under Saban. Kalen DeBoer is a phenomenal coach. It was a great hire. Doesn't mean it's going to work. We just don't know. So I want to see what Alabama looks like. DeBoer 2.0 in that game. And Jalen Milroe, for whatever reason, after that Georgia game where he was phenomenal, completely went down the toilet in the second half of last year. Now they've got a first-year starter. How does that look? That game to me, while nobody's talking about it nearly as much because everybody thinks Alabama is going to wipe the floor with Florida State, maybe they will, but I still think those two storylines to me are very juicy enough for me to want to watch the game.
Kalen DeBoer's buyout, if he's fired.
Oh, like
54 million.
54 million, yeah.
But I just pulled it because I was thinking about this.
Yeah.
Because like Brian Kelly, and I don't know Brian Kelly's contract. Everybody's talking about LSU is going to fire Brian Kelly. It's higher than that. It's 57.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody thinks Alabama and LSU have all this money. They do not. It's not Texas. It's not Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm.
Smaller states, smaller fan bases. Those things matter. Those things matter. That said, in DeBoer's contract, you can put that bad boy on layaway, Mike. You pay it in monthly installments for this next 6 years.
Yes.
So you just keep him on the payroll. Yeah, it's going to hurt, but it's nothing like coming up with $60 million cash.
That's right.
Because some of these buyouts are due within 30 days, the full amount.
Correct.
And that right now in college athletics, it's not going to happen. So hats off to Greg Byrne for being smart. I mean, it's a big number, but if you can pay it monthly, and like I said, you can put it on the credit card and pay it off, So
right. Like Jimbo's 76 is already paid, right?
Yeah, dude. They had to come up with that they had to come up with that cash. Dude. Oh man. I mean, that as well as I do, there's a big difference when you got to put your debit card down on something and it comes out of your checking account.
Yes.
And when you can just pull out the MasterCard or American Express and
say, it's a lot better.
I'll just make payments on this, vacations, things like that. So I just pulled it up and that's what it is. So yeah. And I also, just like Dennis Francione and Bill Curry before him, there's a lot of pressure in that job. There's other really good jobs out there, some on the West Coast. If things get too hairy, you could see a mutual parting of ways. So
it's not out of the realm of possibility. There's no doubt about that. By the way, A&M fans can enjoy Jimbo Fisher chopping it up on the ACC network this year while he's counting that $76 million, and perhaps coaching in 2026 while he's cashing that $76 million and spending it wisely. Again, we are JC and Morgan, powered by Advocare for all of your needs, whether you're a fan of Spark, Rehydrate, so many other great products. You can go online, one-stop shop. It's all mailed to your door. You don't have to talk to the meathead behind the counter of a GNC. That's always a plus. Advocare.com, promo code Mike Morgan, save yourself 20%. And if you give some of those products a try, as I did 13 years ago, I promise you will be hooked and you will be a regular customer for sure. JC, as we wrap things up, some of the other things that you're excited about, looking forward to as we embark upon the highly anticipated week one. This is really, I was trying to think about this. I don't like to give in the hyperbole because we've had other very entertaining week ones before. I don't know if there's one this good. I honestly, I don't know if there's one this good, but go ahead.
Yeah, we've had this conversation all off season, and I agree. And I keep meaning to go back because we've hit a lull with week one, right? Like 2023 was, I think the best game was South Carolina, North Carolina. I think those teams finished 500 combined.
Right.
Game day was in Charlotte for that. I like in the late 2000s, 2010, up until like 2016. We had some good matchups. Now, I don't think we've ever had how many 3 top 10? 3.
Yeah.
There's Clemson, LSU, there's the Ohio State, Texas, and there's Notre Dame, Miami. They're all in the top 10.
Right.
A top 10, right? Plus you have drama, Auburn and Baylor. There's going to be drama there in Waco, especially on Auburn's side. You're going to, you got a renewal of the Catholics versus convicts with Miami, Notre Dame. You got Bill Belichick as the nightcap. He's like that last award they give away before Best Picture, the Oscars,
and the best cinematography.
Yeah, they're very intriguing. The good games Thursday night. Nebraska, Cincinnati is in Arrowhead. Very intriguing. Scott Satterfield could be a little bit on the hot seat there. Matt Rule, are they going to turn it around? Are they not? Some have them as a playoff team. Even games like Mississippi State at Southern Miss.
You stole my thunder. That's a scary game in Hattiesburg. I can't believe they scheduled that.
Ole Miss won't go there. Mississippi
never.
State's done it before. I mean, they'll go down there, and they got a new coach. The coach from Marshall actually won the Sun Belt last year there.
I like him.
Left because he was treated poorly. That's an intriguing game. Toledo at Kentucky. Shouldn't be.
Mark Stoops, don't lose
Toledo. Speaking of Mississippi, Toledo beat Mississippi State by 24 points last year.
That's a 7.5 point spread, JC. Kentucky's a 7.5 point favorite against Toledo at home.
I like some of the pieces that Kentucky got out of the portal, but I just and Calzada could not be as bad as Brock Vandergriff. It's impossible.
Impossible.
But Calzada. But that's interesting. And on that note, I was thinking the other day, kind of what hurt the SEC last year. And if I were the committee, I would have explained this a little bit and used this as ammo, even though it's intellectually dishonest. Cal beat Auburn. Georgia State beat Vanderbilt. Toledo whipped Mississippi State. There were a couple of non-conference losses that the league took. Southern Cal, very average team, beat LSU in the opener.
Mm-hmm.
There are some losses some of these teams took that were not inexcusable for the league. Well, like basketball, where they destroyed all the non-conference competition. But I never heard the committee mention that. Yeah. I never heard a Big Ten fan mention that. So I figured I'd mention it because I started thinking back. I was like, yeah, there were some L's in there that were like, whoa, wait a minute.
I do think to go to one overarching big picture point, I don't know if it's NIL, the portal, or whatever else. I have my own theories on that, but time will tell. I do think the games you mentioned, I do think 2 consecutive years without an SEC team in the national championship game, I think a lot of people looked at it and said, hey, the SEC is still top to bottom the best league, but that doesn't mean it hasn't lost a little bit of its dominance. Just a little. Now, this year, they could get it right back. They could get 5 teams in the playoff. They could have 2 facing off in the national championship game, bring home the trophy, and everybody's back on the SEC love fest gravy train. But much like in basketball, you brought up a great point. Those November, December non-conference games, that is how a lot of people will evaluate your strength of conference the rest of the way because you don't have any other interconference matchups. In college football, it's spread out a little bit, but most of them will take place in September. And when your conference loses games like that, that gives the committee a little bit of justification to say, well, the SEC is great, but it's not that great. I mean, if you're losing games to all these Group 5 and even Power 4 teams, how good can it be? So, yeah, you're right. Those games do mean something. They do have an effect on the perception of the league as a whole. So
and I think if you did the actual metrics like they're going to do this year with a computer, I don't know what formula, SEC schedules still probably come out on top, but strength of record. But that's just something I hadn't, I didn't mention it last year, obviously, but I started kind of thinking about that because I remember that Georgia State loss that Vandy took, and I always bring up the Toledo loss for Mississippi State, but those, Mississippi State obviously was terrible last year or couldn't win, but Vandy was a bowl team and whipped Georgia Tech and almost beat Texas and beat Alabama.
Right.
They lost to Georgia State. So Georgia State plays Ole Miss to open the season this year.
Yeah.
So can the Panthers pull another shocker?
Yeah. How good is Simmons? Jackson Dart was terrific. Jackson Dart's looking pretty damn good in the NFL preseason as well for what that's
I believe
worth.
you called that one too, Michael.
That was yes. That one I'll take a little pride in. I started the show with a big miss. Thank you for one little pat on the back for a hit. But I was definitely wrong about Coach Shaw. Okay. Some final thoughts, JC, with some final things people need to know as we are knee-deep into the season and we have new listeners and viewers each week that are still learning what it is we do around here, what it is we're all about. Shed some light, please.
Yes, download the Chief Sports app to stream our show on SEC Sunday Night, which is an SEC show on Sunday nights, hence the title. Live, collegefootballforever.com is where you can find all of our schedules, video excerpts, some blog material, all that good stuff. So check all that out. Also on X, at the number 4 ever CFB. On Instagram, it's at the word spelled out forever CFB. At JC Sherbert's my X handle, at Morgan on Air 22. Is his, also the YouTube channel at College Football Forever Chief or Chief Sports Network. Also, Mike, do you have something to tell the audience? Yeah. Where you'll be this weekend, rocking and rolling?
So and I get these questions a lot, and I had to hold off for various reasons, but going to be part of a new national radio network, very similar to like the Westwood One model, a game of the week. The schedule is phenomenal, and our first game will be in Waco for that Auburn-Baylor game on Friday night. And encourage you to check it out. You can go to the website, elitemedianetwork.com. On social, just like everything else, some clown in California buys a handle and then hijacks it, so you have to buy it. We're not doing that. So we're Elite Media Sports, plural, on Instagram, Elite Media Sport on X. We'll have a lot of, we're going to steal, for lack of a better word, a lot of JC's great stuff that he puts on the College Football Forever, and then different previews. There's a social media team that does a really good job of kind of hyping up the games that we have. So the games will be available everywhere. I always get that question. Well, what station can I hear it on? That's kind of become an antiquated model. So we're going to have our own station on both iHeart and TuneIn, and which is not behind a paywall, free, and also on the website, elitemedianetwork.com. Again, not behind a paywall, free. So if you're in your car or mowing the lawn or doing the honey-do list at Home Depot and you want to hear something like a good live game, you can do that. We'll bring that to you each and every week. Tom Ramsey, who I've worked with before a number of times at ESPN, former Rose Bowl MVP, he'll be my partner in week 1. Chuck Oliver will be with me week 2, as a matter of fact. And we'll be... Nice. We'll have that Arizona State-Mississippi State game, week 3 in Columbia, South Carolina, for the Diego Pavia Lenoris Sellers showdown. And then we got Miami, Florida State. We got Oklahoma, Texas. I've never been to that game. The fact that I'll be calling that is going to be a hell of a lot of fun.
Get us a picture of Big Tex that
I can do that.
I guess it turned. Wait a minute. Did it catch on fire? Did they build another one? Anyway,
I don't know.
It's right there at the State Fair. It's pretty awesome. So.
There will be a ton of pictures for that one because I always wanted to go to that game and have never been able to. I've always wanted to call a game at Penn State. I will be doing that. We've got Nebraska at Penn State. Always wanted to call a game at Nebraska. We've got Southern Cal at Nebraska. We've got Florida at Ole Miss. We've got a little game called the Palmetto Bowl, Clemson at South Carolina. So we've got some really good games on the schedule. Michigan State, just to name a few. Yeah, so it'll be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that, and hopefully we can have some of you folks on board for some of those games.
Yeah, I'll be listening. I'll have it up. I'll be at my son's high school game, and
that's right.
I'll have the because that Auburn Baylor intrigues me a whole lot.
I was listening to our guy J Boy, who does a good job. We've had him on the show, and he has his own show. He's a huge Auburn guy, right?
Yeah.
And I asked him, I said, "What do you feel?" He goes, "Mike, my heart says yes, but my brain says this is going to be a problem." Like Baylor's pretty freaking good. Baylor was the hottest team in college football for a while. They won 6 in a row. One of their losses that kept them out of the Big 12 championship game was Shadur Sanders threw a Hail Mary at the end of the game to win. That Baylor should have beaten Colorado last year. So their quarterback is Sawyer Robertson, who is a Mike Leach recruit at Mississippi State. May he rest in peace. And then he transferred and lightened up some Big 12 defenses last year. So now that'll be a lot of fun. And you mentioned it. If Auburn loses, the angst in the air for Hugh Freeze and that program, it is going to be Yellowwood, who's now all over the stadium in a sponsorship deal. He might come right down to the field and say, "Hugh, you're out. You're fired." He might just go right down there and do that and bring in somebody else.
We just don't think this is going to work anymore. Look.
Mr. Freeze, this is a Yellowwood 2x4. I don't want to use it on your head. However, this is unacceptable.
Final point on this, my final thoughts, and this will be about this Friday night's game. I shall tell you a story. Last year, Baylor went to the Texas Bowl, right? And LSU had some opt-outs. They had more than Baylor did. Baylor was a favorite in the game, in the Texas Bowl. And a little thing called talent took over. And you're sitting there, and it's 28-7 LSU with 2 minutes to go in the second quarter. They ended up getting up 34-17 and rolling. And the talent level was noticeably different in that game. I'll say this. I don't know what Hugh Freeze is going to – how he's going to coach. Jackson Arnold, I think, has a lot of talent. I don't know how the coach is going to be. I don't know if they take a loss early, if it's going to unravel on them. But Auburn, this is the most talented roster they've had since before Harsin, like way before Harsin. They've recruited well. They've gotten good guys out of the portal. If you're just probably the best receiving core in the SEC, we just don't talk about it a lot. You give Jackson Arnold protection and receivers, I think he's much better than that dude from the team my stepson plays this weekend, Brett Thorne. I didn't know he was I don't know. That's where he played high school football before he went to Michigan State. Otherwise, I'd have been down on him from the start. But I believe Auburn's talent and their advantage in that should lead to a win. And bowls are weird. I mean, I'm not saying because LSU whipped them in that bowl, but it was the same kind of setup. Oh, LSU's only 8-4. Brian Kelly. Oh my God.
Right.
Oh, they've had some opt-outs. Oh, watch out for Baylor. Even the folks in Vegas swallowed it.
Yeah.
And LSU, that was easy money for me and my buddy that like to, for entertainment purposes, play the spread.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I don't know, man.
I don't know either.
It should be a great game, though.
Yeah. No, I mean, if Auburn had a Garrett Nussmeier, I do love their receivers. I think Coleman and Singleton is the best 1-2 punch in the SEC.
Could be.
Let me just say that. I think they're the best 1-2 punch in the Southeastern Conference. So if they can keep Jackson Arnold clean, Auburn is bigger, more stout on the line of scrimmage, as you would expect, then Auburn wins the game. But if they don't, And if they have some turnovers, it could get dicey. So
Could get dicey.
We shall see. All right. Number one of the in-season JC and Morgan 2025 edition is in the books. We'll be back. This is going to be our time every week. Consistency is the name of the game for the fall. Every Tuesday morning, we'll be with you. And as always, you can catch the other great shows on the Chief Sports app. Just check it out, and you shall see. There's about more than a half a dozen of them now. So that'll do it for us this week. For the Mad Dog, Phil Mullinax, for JC, this is Mike. Enjoy your weekend. Hopefully your team wins, and we'll talk about it next week on JC and Morgan.